Welcome back. It's the Movie Club with Friends. We're back for another week. This week we are watching Pan's Labyrinth, a 2006 Spanish movie. That was with a question mark.
Yes.
Yeah. What the hell?
Oh, it could have been Mexican.
Spanish.
It could have been Mexican. You know, yeah, it is set in Spain. So let's dive deep into this journey. Let's have Jared. This was your pick, so explain why you picked it and then how you liked it.
It was coming up to my week. I couldn't really think of a good movie, but I thought about one of those critically acclaimed movies I'd seen in the past, but I couldn't really remember it very well. I'm like, this should be an interesting choice. So I went with it, and I thought it would actually turned out pretty good, personally, myself. I gave it, and I'm going to go with an 8 out of 10, and I definitely liked it. So it's a cute little story. It's almost like a fairy tale about a girl who herself likes fairy tales. She has to move in this new area with her pregnant mother to be with her stepfather in what was effectively a war zone or an area captured, and there's resistance literally living in the hills around them. Her mother gets sick, and she just discovers, apparently she's this resurrected princess from another world. I don't know. Interesting plot point. I like the characters. I like the girl. I think she did a good job. Obviously, I can't really tell how good her acting is dialogue-wise because I didn't understand her. Her physical acting was fine. She wasn't perfect, obviously. She made a mistake in that one eye creature's place, which cost those couple fairies their lives, at least temporarily. I think they were alive there at the end.
I thought you were talking about the mistake of her acting.
No.
Yeah, that's
sorry.
what I thought.
I moved on from that. Sorry about that.
I moved on. I was done with that.
I actually really liked the villain. He wasn't he was a dick. He was an asshole, but he wasn't sinister mustache twirling monster. He actually
the dad.
Yeah, he charged into the battle whenever the rebels first raided their storehouse. He charged up the hill, pretty much leading his troops, and then even when he killed the girl, he was kind of drugged off his mind. He was obviously evil. He was a torturer, but I thought he was at least some depth to him. He really wanted a son. He loved his son, and obviously he prioritized it over his own wife. Which, again, he's a dick. He's an asshole. But overall, I like the character himself. I wasn't huge on the mother, but I didn't think she had too big of a part to play. She was kind of forced onto bed rest the entire movie. She got sick. She threw the mandrake wherever it was into the fire. It wasn't nice. Girls need to believe in magic or something. But, overall, I really liked the movie. I thought it was cute, and I enjoyed it. And that's...
It's funny that it's funny that the last word you said was I thought it was cute. I'm like, really? It's
a cute story.
It's a fairy tale. Yeah, the girl dies in the real world at the end, but then she's forever in her magical fairy world, unless, of course, and obviously I've heard interpretations people think, well, that didn't all really happen. But if that's the case, how was she doing half the things that she was doing, getting into places she would normally wouldn't be able to? Maybe it is, I don't know. But my interpretation was that it was real.
Can we take a vote for who thinks that it was all her imagination and the other side is that it actually was happening?
I can tell you what Guillermo del Toro, the guy who wrote it, thinks.
I'm cutting out really bad.
It's our opinion.
Is that what he thinks, Julie?
No. I'll go into it. My thing. I was obsessed with this movie, so I know a bunch of random things. Actually, it's a super note because Jared mentioned it earlier because he was pretty obsessed with his son. Vidal was ridiculously obsessed with his son, and he does a really good job. If you want to ask about how well her acting is or how well the detail is, because this is set in Spain, they do really good Spanish throughout this entire movie, and even so subtly, Vidal is obsessed with his son, and so in Spanish, when you're addressing two or more women, you're supposed to say bienvenidas, welcome, but in the presence of any man or boy, you would have to say bienvenidos, and when Captain Vidal first welcomes victims, Ophelia and her pregnant mom. He says bienvenidos, not bienvenidas, kind of showing that the most person he's most interested in is his unborn child.
That he was
like
hoping
unborn
was
son
a boy.
specifically. Unborn son.
Like the language, I'm really glad that you brought this up, because I was really wanting to ask you if there was any like something that wasn't being translated, like, you know, like the example you just gave. Was there anything else other than that you caught while watching
No,
the
so like there's like a bunch of like other little subtle stuff, but I think like you should feel like you guys reading the subtitles, like I think you didn't miss a thing. I mean, Del Toro like did all the subtitles himself. Like he did the English subtitles. He didn't want anyone else to do them because he had worked. I mean, this is not like he's from Mexico. Like this is not the first Spanish movie that he's made. And he's felt like every single translator he's used before has kind of messed up his translating of the films he's made. And so he didn't want this to happen at all with Pan's Labyrinth. So he did it the entire time. So I really like it's other than like subtle things like that. Like you didn't miss anything. Like not subtlety to the story, but I do think that that's like so interesting is because just like Japanese, Jeff, you know, like where you can use different honorifics and like there's like I don't know, like Spanish is very
that don't exactly translate.
Exactly, and Spanish is so like gender defined the way that they speak to each other. Like it's very revolved around like how you speak to men and women, and how the differences between the two. So it's like subtle differences like that are going to be difficult to translate. So, but yeah, he was obsessed with his son. That's what I was trying to get at.
So I'll let you go third, Julie, but I want to go second. So not only I think I'm going to give this maybe my lowest, a 4 and a dislike. Not only did I not like this movie very much, I saw it when it came out. I also had to pay money to watch this movie because I couldn't find it online.
Yeah, that was my bad, and I apologize for that.
And it's
also
fine.
had to pay $1.
Oh, I paid
take away rating
$5 Canadian.
you had to pay to watch.
No, it's just salt. It's salt to the
that
wound.
does not go
It's
into
salt
it.
to the wound. It has nothing to do with how I liked it. It's just salt to the wound. Now, okay, yeah, it's all in her head. It's all made up. It's all like this escape that she's using to get away from this situation she doesn't want to be in. You know, as soon as the mother is starting to feel better, oh, these little creatures are going away. And then when it all starts shit hitting the fan, oh, it's back. Right? Oh, how does she get dirty? Well, she's out imagining that she's in this tree and fighting this frog, and she got dirty. That's what in reality happened. What else? Let me bring up my notes. I really like my favorite character was the head maid.
Mercedes.
Mercedes. I don't know.
It's Mercedes. Like it's just like the car. Like just say it like it's Mercedes.
Okay. Yeah, so it's all like just this escape. Like she doesn't want to grow up. She doesn't want to be there. She hates her dad, so that's why like she's going to go live with her king dad in the afterlife, in the underworld. And that's about it. I do like that artist, but at the same time, it all just looks like rejected Tool album art. Like it's just all And then I don't think the CGI really aged well. There's like a lot of parts, like especially the final part where she's in the underworld. Like the floor she is standing on is
super
fake.
Super note while you talk about that actually.
Yeah.
So Guillermo del Toro was offered double his budget. I think his budget was, I don't remember, it was like 13 million or something.
Well,
but he was offered double his budget, if not even like I think not even more, like for I think like 20 different offers to double his budget, but he would have to make the movie in English, like they were gonna get and to be honest with you, like that's like for it being like 06 or like really they made the movie like in 04 or whatever, like but from it being like in that time period, the CGI, I mean like it's not the greatest, I'm impressed by how well it was.
It's
considering
not. I'm not
for
saying
a big budget.
I'm not saying it's terrible. It's not like Jumanji bad. Like looking back at Jumanji, it's terrible. But it was still. It really just pulls me out of like old movies where the CGI hasn't aged well, because it's just you can just tell it's a movie now. I think this was like his magnum opus, right? Like I remember this movie being like a huge deal when it came out, and like everyone talking about it.
Yeah, it was a big deal. I mean, it was nominated for 6 different Oscars. It won 3 of them. It is like his pride and joy. He wrote it all himself too, like everything. Yeah. He started writing the story to the film back in 1993.
So yeah, this
is what came of it. So this is like his baby.
Yeah, that's just his magnum opus. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I just didn't really like it. I don't know what else to say. Like,
so was it just that you think that it was in her head and that was done poorly that you didn't like it? Sorry, I'm not really sure what you didn't like about it.
It's not that it was done poorly. Like, I guess it's just not my kind of movie. It just didn't really do much for me. I didn't really feel entertained. Maybe because I've seen it before, I was like just remembering and being like, oh yeah, right, this happens. I think interesting scenes were kind of forced or too fast, maybe. Like, I think the most interesting part of the movie, or visually, is when she's with that demon and the feast, and then it's just kind of really done and over with. Where it lingers on her sitting around with her mom too much.
That's funny.
And yeah, I guess that's all I really have to say. I think it just kind of boils down to like it's just not my type of movie. But yeah, let's hear from you, Julie.
That's really interesting. I do love all the mom scenes. I wasn't going to talk about that, but like I love the mom scenes. Like this movie like impacted me when I watched it. I remember like running up to my mom afterwards and being like, if I wanted to stick a plant under your bed because I thought it was going to make you better, like you promised me you would let me stick this plant under your bed, Mom. Like I made her like I was just like please just listen to. She's like Mihai, if you really thought it was gonna make you better, like I would do it. I'm like, thanks, Mom. Like it worried the shit out of me. I was just like, oh my god, like my mom, like all the scenes with her mom to me were like super powerful. This entire movie was really, really powerful for me, which is why like I've officially seen it now 23 times. Like I love this movie. I was obsessed with it, like I was obsessed with it. I just think it's really, really well done. It's a beautiful story. There's like it's essentially like you have they do. I think he does a really good job of having the realism of like going against like the fascist or not the like the regime and having the rebellion going on, and then having like this little girl who's like own little personal like awful life is going like is involved in that. Like it's so crazy to me. Like one of my favorite scenes are actually like pretty subtle. It's like where she's running to the labyrinth, or she's running to go do like the scene where she goes into to do the quest for the frog. And like all the soldiers at the same time are running to like fight against the rebels, and she's just over here like, oh, I'm just gonna go do this quest with the frog, and like they're over here like shooting guns like not too far away from her. Like I don't know why, but like that to me is like the epiphany of like how well like he like the like Del Toro did with having these two stories kind of like intertwined, but you're not really like focusing on either one of them at one point. You know what I mean? Like obviously, like we're more focused on Ophelia the entire time because like she's the main character, but like at the same time, like I don't know, like it's two stories done in one. I think it's really well done. I think Ophelia is like the perfect little hero in the film, and like I like it's funny, like the part where she like eats, I don't know, like I remember when I first saw this movie, like my first couple of times I'm just like, why did you have to eat the grape, Ophelia? Like why did you eat the grape? Like don't eat the grape.
Well, the whole thing is like she ate it because the day before she wasn't allowed to eat dinner, right? Because she fucked up.
Yeah, and I mean, like, of course, like, Ophelia hadn't eaten for a day, and that's probably very likely if we think practically why. But at the same time, like I said, I've seen this movie like way too many times. Like, I think courageous disobedience is like it's like the ultimate virtue that Ophelia has. Like she doesn't listen, but she's super courageous. Like she does that multiple times in the film. Like you see it kind of like throughout the entire scene of the film. Like even the backdrop in Spain where they're disobeying the fascist regime, and then you have her, she disobeys and she eats the grape, and then at the very end of the movie, like the very pinnacle at the end of the movie, she disobeys the fawn, and he, she's just like, no, I'm not gonna hurt my brother, and like that's like I think, I don't know, like it kind of embodies her, and it's like it's a theme that you see throughout the entire movie.
The thing with the fawn wanting the baby, I feel like to a point she like blames the baby for everything, so really she was gonna go kill it out in the fucking woods, and then she kind of thought about it and was like, nah, I can't do this. I'm not gonna. I
don't think that's true at all.
Yeah, I didn't get that sense at all.
No, yeah, that's definitely not. Because he tells her like, no, go grab your brother. I'm like, why do we need like just go grab him? And like she's super.
But if you're thinking about this all going on in her head, and she's kind of like under a lot of stress, she's going a little crazy maybe, then yeah, this thing in her head is telling her to hurt her brother. And
but she doesn't.
No, and then she comes to her senses and she's like, no, I'm actually not going to do this.
I can kind of see your point of view on that, yeah.
I feel like
that's the way I see
she wanted to take her brother to her kingdom with her.
Yeah, she loved
She thought she was a princess, so she was like,
I think it's to get her away from the father.
Yeah.
Because she knew the father was not a good person.
I have
love for his son.
Yeah, I have to disagree with you there, just because you see so many moments where, like, obviously, like, she just saw, like, her mom just died and she's with her awful stepfather. But she has so many loving moments between her mother and her where she's just, well, that scene where her mom is completely passed out and she's just talking to her little brother and being like, I promise you, I will take you to my kingdom and we're going to be super, like, super happy. I'm going to make you my prince. And you know what I mean? Like, she loves her little brother, Mikey. Like, this isn't like she's doing things that like only a loving sibling would do. Like yeah, like I disagree with you completely. Like she's over there, she sings to him. I don't know, like it's not.
Give us some examples of your line of thinking, Mike. Why
the line of my thinking is that this is all of the fairy tale aspects of the movie is going on in her head. So it's all coming from her at some point. From somewhere, right? These things that are this fawn that is talking to her, it doesn't actually exist. It's like a voice in her head. It's her subconscious, Where
did she get the mandrake from then? Because the father obviously saw the mandrake.
Yeah,
it's just.
Yeah, I'm gonna super address
that. Looks the mandrake, the thing under the bed. That's just like it's like a ginger root that she put in some fucking milk. She just like made it up.
Okay.
When I remember,
it had roots growing around whenever the father pulled it out, and whenever she put it in there, it was just the mandrake.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like a potato, it will grow.
Potato wouldn't grow in milk.
Yes. How do you know? How do you know that? Like, if you leave a potato out in milk, in water, in anything, it's still gonna grow. It's not dead.
The only reason I disagree is because it kind of all started before things went bad. Sure, she might not have been happy to be there, but unless she went schizoid within the first 5 minutes, she started seeing things.
Yeah.
Personal opinion.
No, so Mikey, and everyone here, like, obviously, and Del Toro has, like, said this, like, multiple times, like, so obviously I don't want to take that away from you. Like, whatever you experience in the film, like, that's your interpretation. You have every right to feel that way. But what Del Toro has, like, the way he structured it, and he gives you a ton of clues in the entire movie. Not only what Jared just mentioned right there is that, yeah, it happens before everything goes bad. But he gives you a bunch of clues that it's real. Like the flower blooming on the dead tree at the end, the chalk ending up on Vidal's desk, as there's no way it could have gotten there otherwise, unless like she couldn't have gotten conjured up chalk. And Ophelia's escape from that's the biggest one is Ophelia's escape from the dead end of the labyrinth. Like she's at a dead end, and then the walls just open up for her. Like it's like, don't get me wrong. Obviously, this is a fantasy movie, so this is obviously the fawn isn't real. But like in this story, in this universe, there's so many examples of this being real.
You can argue like, okay, there's no one actually around there to see the flower. The chalk she could have just found somewhere around.
I'm just telling you what Del Toro, the person
who
wrote it, is
and
saying.
then the maze. Oh, it's a fucking maze. It's at night. The guy was on drugs.
That's what I'm not gonna like I said. Like he said you have every right to interpret it however you want to. But how he structured the film was for it to be real.
Also, on a side note, that captain, again, he was a champ. He navigated that maze perfectly while high on whatever.
And getting stabbed multiple times and, drugged out of his mind. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a hoss.
The knife was like 2 inches long, though.
And the ending thing that I'm going to talk about is still one of the most frightening things to me, is the bottle scene. Where Vidal, like the two farmers, like the rabbit farmers, or not?
Yeah, that's pretty.
The ones.
The hunters,
they're farmers, but like they get rabbit.
Yeah,
they were
hunting
rabbits.
farmers. Yeah.
And he like beats the son's like face in. Like that's like one of the worst scenes I've ever
brutal.
seen. And actually, as a super side like trivia note, the reason why Del Toro wrote that in there is because when he was like a young man, him and his friend got in a fight, and his friend essentially like his face got beaten by a bottle. Obviously like he lived, so it wasn't as bad, but he said that seeing it was so scarring for him when he was growing up that he had to put it in a film. Like he'd just been like waiting to have him like this moment just to like conjure up the thing that like just gave him nightmares all the time. So, but yeah, it's a great movie. I love it. Del Toro did an amazing job for creating this all by himself. And I think I love that it's in Spanish, obviously. Oh, okay. Other thing I was going to mention. So the only American actor in this entire film is the fawn, actually.
Yeah.
And it's just Doug Jones. Doug Jones, he's been in everything. Like, if you don't know who Doug Jones is, I don't know what you're doing.
Doug Jones?
Okay, we'll talk about this later.
Fair, satyrs are native to America, so that makes sense.
Isn't he that senator from Alabama?
Okay, no. But Doug Jones had to teach himself Spanish, and he does such a good job. Could you tell that the fawn didn't speak Spanish? Like he did.
No, but I don't
think he was like fucking burping or gurgling the entire time he was talking. So
yeah, he had to like learn all his lines. He had to learn all of Ophelia's lines. He like spent forever learning and trying to perfect his obviously he has like a weird demonic accent, but like he did a really good job. Like, so fuck yeah, Doug Jones.
Yeah. Okay.
What was your rating, Julie?
Yeah, what was your rating, Julie?
It is like, I've seen this a million times. It is a number 10 for me, and I absolutely love it.
You don't want to make it a 10.5, Julie?
Wow, it's 10 out of 10.
No, like this is one of my favorite films, and like ever. Like it is by far one of my top 10 films. I don't like fucking see a movie 22 times before this and be like, oh, I kind of just liked it. Like
Whoa.
no one like.
Well, no, I was just saying like. I think this is our first 10 out of 10.
Number 9 makes more sense, though, Julie. You just said that it's one of your favorite movies of all time. But
yeah,
you didn't
and it
say
is
that
one
it's
of the best movies ever created.
We gotta edit
Is this
that.
is
We
this
can't let
So,
one
this
9.5.
the best movie? So yeah, 9.5.
I
I'll
we
put
really
it in the
gotta
description, Julie. Don't worry.
No, we really gotta edit that because like I'm not. It's like we should put one of the best movies ever created. Like that's how I feel.
Let's move on. Let's hear from Jeff.
So I think this movie has a lot to do with religion. I think that everything that's happening, like all the mystical stuff or whatever, I think it's real, but not. It's real if you believe in religion, and it's not real if you don't believe in religion. I think all the mysticism stuff is a direct parallel to like Christianity per se, whatever. It doesn't really matter which religion. Like the fawn to me is like the priest telling you how to get to heaven. The kingdom, her kingdom, underground kingdom, whatever. That's heaven. That's heaven, and the king is God or whatever. And I think the fawn is like a priest, and he's like, here are the commandments that you have to follow in order to get into heaven. This amazing place that you want to go to, right? And then she does all the things, and then she breaks the rules. She does a sin of gluttony or whatever, eating the grapes. And then, the priest, mad at her, like, you sinned, what the fuck? But, of course, she gets a second chance, because that's religion.
Okay, wait.
And in the very end, she has to choose, what?
I just thought about this, right? The fawn wants to stab the baby, right? And then she's like,
we never wanted to.
It was a test.
No, it was a test, Mikey. Yeah.
It stated that at the end. Of
This is okay. Oh no, it's stated. Yes. No. No, but like you're thinking about these things too literal, right? Because she's laying there, she's dying, and she's imagining in her head that she's at this super pretty kingdom area.
The light was shining. When you fucking die, the people say, you see the light at the end of the tunnel or whatever. She's going to heaven. She fucking sacrificed herself.
All I'm saying is all this shit was made up in her head. That's all I'm saying.
That's what
you don't believe.
Back to heathen.
Yeah, that is completely your.
She wanted to hurt that baby, and then the best got of her, and she was like, no, I'm not gonna do that.
You can't keep saying like you're entitled to this, but that's not what he said. It's like let them have their.
Well, because like he's arguing like
Thank you.
Like Jesus, give the guy a break.
So I think like I was saying, at the end she has to decide whether or not she is willing to spill the blood of an innocent or sacrifice herself. Kind of Jesus-esque situation, right?
She's gonna kick that baby down the stairs.
Chooses to sacrifice herself, granting her access to heaven. She sees the light. And she goes towards the light, which is heaven. But she goes there, and the God is like, you passed the test. Good job. Welcome.
I'm your dad, and all your friends are here.
It's not really a sacrifice.
Her mom is there, too.
Have eternal life afterwards, though, is it?
Say again?
It's not really a sacrifice when you're gonna,
be an immortal God.
Religion, why do priests not get married? They sacrifice that part of their life in
pretty sure it's only
go to heaven or whatever. I'm just saying that as a
only Catholic priests.
It's only Catholic priests. That's not the reason they don't get married.
Just like it's an example of sacrifice, Like there are certain things you have to do in religion to get into heaven, right? Like if I just sinned all the time, like I shouldn't go to heaven. If I don't repent or anything,
I think you sin
I'm not making any sacrifices. Then like. By religion rules, you shouldn't necessarily go to heaven, right? So that's what I'm saying in terms of the sacrifice.
Yes, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely agree with you, Jeff. Like, I think that there is I don't know, like religious, spiritual connotations throughout the entire movie, which is really ironic because specifically talking about Catholicism, which is the most prevalent religion in Spain and Mexico, Del Toro really hates the Catholic Church. He fucking hates the Catholic Church.
I think the eye demon represents the church.
Actually, okay, so I'm so glad you're bringing this up. I didn't think this was going to get brought up at all.
Jeff.
So like, okay, do you guys remember at the banquet whenever Videl and like the mom, while she's doing her little frog toad quest, they're having like that big banquet where they get all those people that come to the Videl's house, and the priest at one time comments at the table, and it said, God has already, he comments about the dead rebels, and he's like, God has already saved their souls. What happens to their body? Well, it hardly matters to him. That's actually taken from a real speech that a priest used to give to rebel prisoners in the fascist camps. Like, that is a real speech that a priest said during the fascist regime in Spain. And the pale, Del Toro said that the pale man represents the church for him. Like, to him, like that.
Wow,
the
Jeff, you're so insightful.
The pale man represents the church for me. He represents fascism and the church eating the children when they have perversely abundant banquet in front of them.
Oh,
Yeah, because another thing, the priest was like eating tons of food, and they were talking about the ration cards, and they're like, someone asked, "Oh, is this going to be enough for a family?" And the priest is like, "Oh, it'll be enough." As he's taking a scoop,
and he's like
of,
the only
food
one
and just
scarfing
shoveling
the
it
food
on his
down.
plate.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly, Garrett. Exactly.
I think the Catholic Church has been eating a lot of kids these days.
Wow,
Wink.
really?
That's-
Wink.
That's terrible.
That was
Come on, Jared.
No, I got that. I'm just saying this is probably the wrong euphemism I would use.
I thought the pale demon, especially with the eyes, I thought that was a strong message of the church is always watching you for when you do bad.
Yeah,
I think, it reacts to the bad, but I didn't understand what the three doors meant. Maybe, how she chose
Holy
to go
Trinity.
for the older one. Oh, that might, yeah. Well, I mean, one was
Wait.
silver, one was gold, and then
Just-
one was wooden, right?
right. That's
Wait, Jeff, can
that's
you-
like Indiana Jones stuff,
Yeah, that's-
right? At
that's
the end,
exactly
there's
what I was
all the
thinking,
cops,
where
and
it's
they're
the
like,
old
"Oh, it's got to
cop
be,
instead of the
yeah,
new one.
yeah."
Yeah. But,
Jeff, what was the? Sorry if I missed this. What was the main thing that made you think that religion had a big role besides the priest? What was
Because
the
she
biggest
died
thing?
and went to the underworld, probably.
Is that the biggest thing?
I kind of thought that throughout because the actual priest isn't what I was talking about earlier. I was comparing the fawn to a priest, but the part that really made me think, okay, this is religion, was the end when she sees the light and then she goes to the light and she's in heaven. That's what sealed the deal for me.
Right.
Okay, because I just thought that was, in my opinion, a little, I guess, jumping to too many conclusions. I would never have thought that because I don't see, the only thing that spoke religion to me was the priest, and I get it, the afterlife, you can kind of get that, but I was just kind of putting my 2 cents in there.
I didn't really think of, I've seen this movie once before, way, way, way long ago, and I didn't really think about, I didn't remember almost anything. I remember that white demon guy, and that's pretty much it, and the fawn.
Mhm.
But I didn't really think about it being religious until the pale demon guy and the murals of him stabbing and eating the kids and all the shoes, and I was like, okay, this kind of has a religious vibe. And then I started piecing together things in my mind with the fawn, giving the tasks or commandments to the girl to get into heaven. Here's what you have to do.
Commandments aren't really tasks, though, right? So I don't.
Yeah, it's
I
a
think
loose
you're.
comparison.
Yeah, I think so. For me, I think I see the analogies towards religion overall, but I do think that you are slightly more focused on Catholicism, which is exactly what he was trying to portray poorly. So, but I think that what you're saying is I still see it.
I will say, yeah, I'll concede that in the area where the guy was eating the children, that Garrett, can you help me with this? What it reminds me of, all around the churches, you'll see
Stations of the Cross.
Is it just called the Stations of the Cross?
Yeah, it's the journey
Yeah.
Jesus took to
Yeah.
Golgotha.
So if you go to any Catholic church, you'll see the Stations of the Cross. I think there's maybe 12 of them, 8 to 12 of them.
Yeah, I know what you're
And
talking about.
it's basically kind of up on the top areas, and it kind of shows the progression of him going and taking the cross and everything. And that's That's what that reminded me of quite a bit, actually.
Yeah, actually, now that you bring it up, it does have a
Can
good
we just talk
comparison.
about
Since
how-
he is trying to, I guess, portray Catholicism badly, that makes sense.
Can we just talk about how
Sticking it
fucked
to
up
the
it is that an actual priest said that to prisoners?
Julie, an actual priest literally said he didn't know raping children was illegal.
Yes, that's true. They do a lot of shitty
Like
stuff.
last
People are
week,
shitty.
some
All right, all right.
I'm sorry, officer. I
Touche,
didn't know I couldn't be there.
touche.
That's all I gotta say.
I'm done. Got it. You're right. They all suck.
But going beyond the underlying meanings of the movie, I thought the movie itself was very good. I thought it was pretty well paced. Who said that some of the moments were too fast and some of them were too slow? Was that Mike?
Yes.
Yeah.
I can agree with that. There was definitely times where like I wanted more of the fauna, or I wanted more mystical creatures, something of the sort. But for the length of, go ahead.
So I was just gonna say, like, one of the selling points of this movie when it came out is everyone was talking about was the visuals, and the stuff that you do see is very good, but it's not a lot. It's not like a movie like The Labyrinth where it's all crazy imagery and weird monsters and stuff. It's very, very scarce.
Well, I'm gonna wait to hear from Johnny for this because I thought that it was filmed really beautifully, but
It looks nice, but it's not all.
While I
wrong.
wanted more of the mysticism, I thought that it had a good amount for what it wanted to do. Like, if there was more, I feel like it would have taken away from specialness.
I agree with that. I'm just saying when a selling point is like, oh, the imagery is really crazy, it's really like a magical world and stuff, and then it's not really about that, it's kind of like...
Yeah, but like he wasn't trying... I don't think he was like in charge of the marketing, right? Like, I don't think he was trying to make this movie to be a selling point. He was just trying to make this movie for his image.
Yeah.
Like not for his image, but he wanted to make a movie that he wanted to make.
Yeah.
He didn't really abide by any rules or any marketing selling points or anything like that. So I thought he did a great job on that. I thought all the actors were really good. I thought the little girl was really good. I thought she did her lines very well. The main big bad guy, his torture scenes I thought were very good. I thought he was a very effective bad guy. Like Jared was saying, he wasn't just like this twisty mustache guy. I could definitely see him being a general.
I like how he just kills the doctor, and they're like, "Yo, your wife's giving birth."
And he's like, fuck.
Fuck, get the true doctor.
He looks at the
that.
doctor and he's like, fuck, it's a medical.
Shit. Yeah.
So I'm going to give this movie... I actually haven't thought about a score. I'll give it an 8 out of 10 and liked.
Interesting.
so just so you guys know, it won best cinematography, best production design, and best makeup. So, just so you know, so Del Toro said for him, so he watched the film with he watched the film with Stephen King. Like Stephen King sat right next to him when the show first premiered, and Stephen King like grimaced and gasped at the scene with the guy with the hands, and he says that he said that as soon as that happened, he's like, that's it, like I don't need an Oscar, I don't need anything. Stephen King just grimaced at my movie. I'm good.
So
like,
what I'm gonna say, I'm not gonna go on record saying right now, is when I rate movies and when I think about movies and how I like them, I never take in if they won an Oscar or an award or anything, because it's if I like it, I don't care if anyone else likes it.
I agree with you completely.
Okay. Okay. So let's Jeff, were you done?
Yeah, I can't think of anything else.
All right, let's hear from Grabo.
Okay, so for the record, Doug Jones is the new Alabama senator, so I did get that right.
I knew you were right, Gabe. Don't worry.
I knew you were good too.
So you don't laugh, thanks.
Very common name.
So I I like the movie quite a bit. I've seen it. It's Julie's favorite movie, so we've seen it quite a few times. I think this was either my third or fourth time to see it.
Yeah. What's up?
And I like it quite a bit. I'll probably give it a 7 out of 10 and liked. The biggest thing for me in this movie that I like is that you can perceive it both ways. That it was all real to her and it wasn't real. And here I'm gonna make the case that it wasn't real, that Mike was trying to make the whole time, was that they just didn't show you every little part of the movie. Like, she could have just been playing with chalk with all these doors. Somebody could have not been at her door. There were so many things in here that could have just been, her imagination. So, and that all sounds sad. Like, oh, it wasn't her imagination. Well, you're a buzzkill. Well, in the very end, she felt like she did the right thing by taking her brother and running away from the bad guy, and she kind of sacrificed herself for the kid. So she, at the end of it, she kind of, did the right thing or anything. So I kind of like looking at it from both ways, and kind of just appreciating both ways that you can see it. That's the biggest thing I took from the movie. Still, that scene with the creepy eye guy is always gonna remind me of this movie, and it's like the thing that's gonna stick in my mind the most is that creepy
The worst part about him is his arms, because he has all this loose skin on his arms.
His
neck and
yeah, I was gonna say that, Johnny. He lost a lot of weight recently.
He hasn't had a kid in a while.
He's just been staring at all that food. He's just.
But no, a lot of the points we're 45 minutes into this again, and a lot of points have already been made. I think, she was hungry as hell, so that's why she had the grapes. Makes sense. Let's see,
Plus,
what
those
else?
were fucking huge grapes.
They were really big.
I've never had a
Or was
grape
she
that
very
was
small?
my
you think they were
entire
fake?
mouth.
They looked really good. I'm surprised.
Great. Mike, her face is probably half the size of you.
I don't know. I don't.
11.
I don't. I
It was
don't.
11, whatever.
I don't think grapes are that big to comparatively. Still,
I've seen pretty big grapes.
Yeah, same.
It's all them GMOs. I'm just saying shit.
GMOs are good.
And
I
those
know you
old-
were gonna
that's
say
not-
that.
and all those GMOs in old timey Spain. Yeah.
Right. I think it had to be fake. I feel like it had to be fake.
They were
Hopefully
fantasy
maybe-
I mean, she
grapes.
ate it.
Oh man, all that fake
That's all-
food and that.
Well, they probably made it something else. I don't know. That was just.
I'm pretty sure there's big grapes like that. Because I remember watching someone eat Japanese fruits, and they had big grapes like that.
Japan does have big grapes. They're
Oh.
really expensive. I saw a video on them.
We are discussing whether or not the grapes are figured out in a magical land that possibly didn't even exist.
Can I just say how proud I am of her of choosing a healthy option? I'm surprised. If it was me, I'd been I'm gonna take that piece of cake and I'm gonna take that piece of chicken. That's what I would have gotten for. But she takes two grapes.
She had to take something small so she could run away from the pale man.
Yeah.
She made me mad there. It was just listen to little fairies. Just don't touch the food, you
I know.
idiot.
I know.
Like I said, Michael, I agree with you completely. The first 10 or 11 times I saw this film, I was just I hated that scene. I'm just don't have it.
Yeah.
But then I figured, I'm no, that's the theme of her. That is who she is.
Why did she have to
It's-
make the door on the ceiling?
I don't know.
Yeah, why didn't she just redraw it?
I think the wall texture was too rough, and she wasn't able to.
Oh, it broke the
make it
chalk.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh,
The
that's
chalk was
right,
really
yeah.
brittle.
Oh,
Yeah,
You're right.
right.
You're right.
Jeff,
Okay.
good job, Jeff. Fuck. Good job.
Jeff
Part of my
really
reason
paid
for that, too.
attention to this movie.
That makes sense.
Yeah, because
Also, why did she draw the door so small the first time?
She's
That's what I was-
11-year-old child.
So she drew.
Let's criticize the fuck out of her, right?
And then
Hold on, let's hear it.
Sorry, yeah.
She drew the door, then she eventually flips over the hourglass and the sand goes down. The door closes right as the sand finishes. If she never flipped over the hourglass, does the door just never close?
Yeah, that was also kind of a loophole I thought of.
Yeah, she
Guys?
did take a long time before she flipped that.
They just had to make up something, because like my mind, it's like, wouldn't you need the hourglass to then draw another magical door? But then she draws another magical door without the hourglass.
It was just a timer.
It's dumb.
It was just. But why didn't she carry it with her to see how much time she had left?
And it's like, you're in a hurry. You know about the timer. Like, I know you're hungry. Just fucking go. I'd be like, I don't want to get locked in here with this stupid thing.
I remember feeling all these things too. I agree with you completely. Like, I'm just like, why? And that's why I said, I'm like, why the grape? Like, I at least go for something good. Like,
I feel like instead of the timer, maybe they should have just had her run from the thing and then barely make it out without there being like this time element. I don't know.
Yeah.
No, I think the time
Because
element
the
was
time
important for
element-
drama. I do
Well,
think it was important for drama.
Oh, that's what I'm saying though. The element, the drama element could have still been there if that thing chased her. Maybe it was a little faster. That thing was like a fucking zombie.
Its eyes were on its hands; it couldn't see.
Well, at the same time, though, it's like he kept
Thing's been there for years.
running, and he would have like his hand down. I'm like, buddy, did you just come into reality? Like, hold one hand
He had to
up.
watch his feet.
Hold one
down, one
fucking
up,
hand
right?
up. Yeah, exactly. Like,
He had twigs for feet.
like
to make sure
you're this immortal being, but you don't know how your own fucking body functions.
It's so funny to me.
Been sitting for
The
like
thing
a
that
year.
the thing that really irritated me is that he actually doesn't have that many teeth at all. Like, if you like really look carefully, which I'm not sure if you guys noticed, I've seen it a million times. But yeah, like I think like at one point, like he literally looks like he's toothless.
Yeah, he's
And
got
so, like-
little baby piranha teeth.
Yeah, and I'm just like, how does he?
It's
Well, I like that
perfect for
bothered
biting heads off fairies.
Fairies. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
But like he did that to little children. That's why you see all the zapatos on the floor.
yeah. The really delicate like skin. You can
Right.
knock
Oh
it
God,
easily.
stop!
So,
Um,
Yeah, as
go
a
on,
super
Gabe.
side note, because Dell's never gonna listen to this, or maybe he will. But like I said, I used to watch this movie all the time. I used to watch it all the time with my brother Dell. He used to make me fast forward through that scene. Like
badass metalhead Dell.
he used to make me fast forward through that scene. Truly. Fast forward. Shit. I wanna see this shit.
Ah, that's cute.
So I've seen that scene way less than other scenes in the movie. Oh God, it's frightening.
Look at those baby teeth, man.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like he hardly has any teeth. I'm very confused by how he's. Anyway.
Yep. So, other than all those things, the last point I'll make that most people have been making is I can always enjoy a good villain, and I thought he was really good. So,
So fucking good.
yep. So that's all. That's all I got.
Too spoopy. All right, Garrett, your turn.
Give my rating real fast. Just 8, and I liked it. And yeah, everything was covered. I was also going to mention, if I was before Gabe, that Doug Jones is the Alabama senator. And
Good job, Garrett. Good job.
Jesus Christ.
You guys are brothers, dude.
Yeah, try living with them. Fuck me.
I guess since most of the points have already been talked about, I just want to rehash on the bad guy, Vidal, on how I think the reason he's a really good bad guy isn't because he's like just chaotically evil. He's not just being evil to be evil. You know, he's got the purpose, I guess, of, you know, maintaining, I guess, peace in Spain, maintaining the fascist order.
A really together Spain sounds like a good idea, personally.
Oh my
I mean, yeah, because it's pretty not together over there right now.
That's just
And yeah, it just says like care for his son. Didn't give a fuck about his wife. Just wanted his son. All she was a baby making machine.
I wanted it to be born a female, and then to see what he would do.
I really
Same.
wish he was.
Yeah, that would have been great. Actually, I would have really enjoyed
Because
that.
then Ophelia would really need a reason to get that baby out of there.
Yeah, what you think he'd kill it?
Yeah, maybe not kill it, but just not really care about it at all. Because like,
Yeah.
okay, the dad was an asshole, but like he did love his son. But if he had this daughter and he'd be like, throw it to the dogs, then like Ophelia would really have to be like, I gotta get this baby out of here.
Yeah, and because even whenever right before he dies, he's like, "Yeah, I'm going to give it to Mercedes because I know for a fact she'll take care of the kid."
Yeah, that was
Because
She
you
did.
know, she's
Mercedes
a
is
good
a
person.
solid,
she was the
solid
best character.
person.
Garrett, I
And,
was gonna say your favorite character was the Doctor, and
I
when
did
he
like the
got when
Doctor.
he died, it probably hurt you.
I love the Doctor. The
I
Doctor's
think the Doctor
fucking
was a
amazing.
good was a good character, but why do you think that? Why do you associate him with me?
It's like just sometimes when I watch these movies, I'm just like, that's that person's favorite character. Like with Gabe and like the cute little animals. Just for some reason in my head, watching it this time, I was like, that's Garrett's character. That's his boy.
I mean, the Doctor was good. I don't think I really had a favorite character in this movie. They were all pretty good. I overall enjoyed it. And then we talked about the feast, and then all those little shoes next to the Pale Man. And another thing that reminds me of is just like all the concentration camps. You always
Yeah.
see those images
Yeah.
of just like all the shoes of all the people that died.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
I think that's just another show of like fascism. And
Yep.
you know, because this was 1944 in Spain, so
Yep.
Jeff.
That's a good point. What?
It's just funny.
And then the last thing I had written down was just the fawn, because I didn't know. I guess fawn is Pan, because at the end it was Labyrinth of the Fawn, and obviously in English it's Pan's Labyrinth. And I thought because I forgot the way I've watched it a couple years ago, but I forgot the way the story ended up being, and I always thought the fawn was like deceiving the girl, like
That's what I
giving
thought
her.
too. The whole fucking movie,
Well,
I was like, "This is the bad guy."
That's
he's
what
evil.
Mercedes
Yeah.
says, right?
Yeah, and I thought he's just gonna deceive her the whole time. He's getting her to do these tasks because that would unlock evil in the world or something like that. But in the end, yeah, he was a good guy.
It was
I
his
guess.
test, right? He was
Yeah.
acting shady, right?
Yeah, because
He
like
looked fucking
if
shady,
you're a
which
good
was
guy,
bad.
why don't you just come out with all the truth and say what your end goal is? But whatever.
Yeah, because that wouldn't make a good story.
I don't know, but
It doesn't make a good story.
Okay,
but
so they're trying to be all like good and like you got to prove yourself and you're good people, but like then they're like, you're gonna be the king of the underworld. Like it's just that's hell.
Princessa?
That's
I mean, the underworld isn't all bad, because if you go to like Greek mythology,
Yeah,
Like-
and that's where Pan
Hades.
comes from, right?
No.
I don't know.
I thought
I
Pan
don't think so.
originally was Greek, right?
Like the
He's-
fawn?
Yeah, because he's that little guy with the goat hoofs and the pan flute.
Yeah, I think there is.
That's a satyr, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess okay. I get your point now. You're right. Yeah, just because it's like the underworld doesn't necessarily mean it's bad, because in the underworld was where Elysium was in Greek mythology, and Elysium was heaven, basically. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, the underworld doesn't necessarily just mean bad.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, like I think Underworld has a really bad that's one of the things I really like about this film, because it wasn't like to go with Jeff's religious thing. Like it wasn't like typical religion, which is why I care. Like if
Yeah.
a movie's too religious, I typically don't care for it.
I guess if he was going for an anti-religion thing, and like, but when I was watching, I was like, oh hell yeah, she's gonna be like the queen of the underworld. Like she's gonna be fucking Satan. That's sick. But no.
Really?
Yeah, I was like, that's such like a cool turn. But
I'm
no.
like, the movie starts with like she dreamt of feeling sunlight and like and like warmth on her skin. Like, yeah, she's gonna be the queen of the underworld.
well, even these evil gods, right? They have like nice moments. They're just doing what they are.
Well,
you know?
just by the way, like on the topic of that, so it's only called Pan's Labyrinth in English-speaking countries. In German,
Ignorant.
Scandinavia, Netherlands, Croatia, like
Is it all
everywhere.
like the labyrinth of the fawn?
Yeah, everywhere else it's the Labyrinth
Oh,
of the
okay.
Fawn, because you know, like Del Toro just wants him to be a normal fawn, and it's not actually supposed to be the god Pan, because he
Why
thinks
did they
the
change the name?
Probably just so it would be more recognizable to American people.
Yep. Yeah, he thought that Pan himself is a little too dark and sexual for fairy tale, so starring in.
Sexual?
Well, yeah, because like satyrs are all about fucking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They are. They like to party.
Yeah,
So-
like I feel like their god is like Dionysus, the god of wine and partying.
That makes more sense about Hercules.
Hercules.
Study fucking Greek mythology.
No, yeah, I don't know shit about Greek mythology.
Insane. Insane.
Alright.
All right. So
Oh, if we wanna make one more comparison to Greek mythology, Hercules killed his wife and kids, so then he had to go on like the 7 tasks of Hercules. Call these the 3 tasks of Ophelia.
Hey Jeff, look at that.
I
Maybe
also
it's
feel
more
like-
more
That is
Greek.
pretty
I also
neat.
feel like Ophelia is a Greek
That's
name.
I like that insight. That's neat. I gotta think about that more.
I mean, I feel like it can be called a Latin name,
Yeah.
and Spanish and Latin and Greek and all those are really closely
yeah.
related.
So were you done?
I'm like, I was gonna
Yeah.
like, I've heard of Ophelia is like a really like old, like to me it's just like an old Spanish name. Like I only know people
Like
in,
Helga?
their seven.
But
I
I
don't know
think,
people in their
like,
70s and 80s.
right
are
there's
named
a
Ophelia.
character in like
Ophelia.
a Shakespeare play, Ophelia, right?
Yeah.
Guys seen 8 Crazy Nights with Adam Sandler?
No.
The animated?
No.
No.
I
Well,
don't
that's
know.
one of the
Please don't pick that
Christmas
movie,
movies.
Johnny. Anyway, yeah, the little guy, right? Yeah.
The sister's name is Ophelia.
Right. Yeah. What's the guy's name?
Whitey.
Whitey. Yeah. Oh. Okay. So sorry, Garrett. Were you done?
Yeah, that's done.
All right. So let's hear from everyone's favorite closer, Johnny.
All right. Well, it's not going to be anything spectacular this time around. I am going to be more geared towards what you picked, Michael, for like a rating. I'm going to go with 6, and I disliked it, I guess. So to start out with, I was fully expecting, there's nothing wrong with this, but I was fully expecting to be immersed in a Fantasyland style movie, and I was severely disappointed just because of that fact.
Yeah. If
That
you were
whole
expecting
time.
that, you should be disappointed.
Yeah. The entire movie, I was so kind of like upset at the
Whisk
fact
me away
that...
already.
Yeah. It was just tragedy, just left and right the whole time. And even when she was in those like magical worlds, she was like having to fight beasts and all that kind of stuff, and she's nearly escaping. And then when she does, she's like, I don't know, all muddy from the fact of like having that toad, whatever. And she ruins her dress, gets her mom pissed off at her. Her dad is mad at her as well, and it was just like tragedy left and right. Two, this wasn't really in particular as to why I didn't like the movie, but did you guys notice how many scenes where it was like I was like questioning like why there was so much skin from Ophelia? Like she was like half naked like for a few of the scenes, and I was just like really concerned with it, and it was like.
What?
Did
Was
anyone-
she taking a bath?
When she's
Not
taking
that-
the bath, she had like a onesie on.
No, yeah, but no, well, like when she was getting underneath the bed and like her like skirt or her dress was like coming up, and it was seriously like showing a lot of legs, and I was just
Wow,
like,
I've never.
Should we be worried about you, Johnny?
I didn't
Yeah.
notice
I
that.
was just
Johnny, you like
what
the-
is
I'm googling the FBI's number.
I
was
can
very-
kind of see what you're saying, John. I had the brief thought of the same thing, but at the same time, I was thinking there was reasons for all this to happen.
If
Like
they-
I think-
even with the bathing scenes, it was very conservative. I think.
Well-
And it wasn't like they just threw those scenes in there. Like she got really muddy, so she had to take a bath.
but
Yeah, I think
I
they,
think
they,
I've
they
been
didn't.
so-
You didn't see anything.
I think I've been so sensitized to like American made movies where like it's pretty much like bad for you to just be like showing like little kids with that less or like little of clothing on, and it just kind of like,
Yeah.
I don't know, surprised me.
I can think of an example, actually. A horror movie, Don't Be Afraid of the Dark. It's about a little girl, and there's a similar scene of her in a bath, and like her in her nightgown. It's like the same thing as this movie. But I can still see what you're saying.
Well, it was just kind of surprising to me.
That's right. Don't Be Afraid of the Dark. That is a solid movie.
Can't pick it because Tanner.
I honestly might pick a horror movie, but we'll see.
Yeah, fuck Tanner. He's not just kidding.
Don't Be Afraid of the Dark was by Guillermo del Toro.
Oh, was it?
So this
Yeah.
guy's a
He
loli,
knows
man.
amazing.
This guy's a loli. Johnny, you cracked the code, dude.
No.
Oh no!
No, Guillermo del Toro also made like the Book of Life, like, which is fantastic.
Yeah, for kids, so I can learn more kids. Okay, I gotta stop.
Yeah. Stop.
He's gonna sue us, man.
All about.
Where to go?
Come on, blow me away, Johnny. You got something.
Brace yourselves, guys.
I can't.
Ultimate insight coming in.
Blow Mike. Blow Mike. I didn't chant there.
There was not a whole lot to take away, I guess. Well, nothing that's gonna blow your mind, but I just kind of wanted to reflect on how kind of cheesy it was at the very end, where she's seeing the afterlife, how she's meeting her king dad and her queen, and she's gonna be welcomed in.
What are you about to say, Johnny? Let's see.
And then it pans out to her into the real life scenario, and she's dying, but she's like smiling because she's in such an induced like
What? That
traumatic
was such a
state
good scene. I love that.
it was really sad. Like I felt so bad for her at the same time, but I was like, God damn it! Like she just like threw her life away.
I can see where
Really
maybe
sad
that
she's
was
actually going to heaven.
that was her mind, coming.
Yeah.
You know how people say your life flashes before your eyes before you die. She didn't have much of a life, so maybe her mind said, "Here's the best possible thing that you can think about right now while we die."
That's why all the fairies are alive.
Yeah, and
It's all made up in her head.
If we were
But
to
it
have,
is.
if we were to take sides on this,
Right, I was
going
gonna
to
ask
has
you.
it all in her head.
Thank
all
you.
of it.
Yes,
is in her head.
my man.
There was plenty of scenes like what Gabe was saying that were left out to the fact where it makes you think, like question whether or not if it's real or not. And
If they showed her getting out of the room to go get the baby by using like the chalk door, then yes, that'd be more of an argument towards it. Oh shit, maybe it is becoming real.
That made me think that it was real because the door was locked. She was locked in that room, and the only way out was that magical door.
But like, there's
That's what I'm
windows.
saying.
No, but there's windows. There's maybe the door wasn't locked.
But they're like
It was
confused
raining.
why she's
It
not
wasn't wet
there.
whenever she
So
grabbed the baby.
why didn't it show her using the chalk to get out then?
It did. Remember when Mercedes went in the
They
room
didn't
when she
show it.
wasn't there?
yeah, because there was a
Oh,
chalk
yeah,
line
chalk
on the
door.
wall.
But that would have
where
been
the-
that's the chalk
But-
line when she went to see the monster.
No, this was
No, the chalk line
it's different.
disappeared.
I see what you guys are saying, but I think it's just to kind of keep leading you on to think that it could be real, but it could also not be. There's plenty. You can argue this the whole time.
You can argue both ways. I'm just leaning towards the more not real thing.
Yeah, I was just kind of. It felt like kind of a cop out at the end when she was just dying, but it turned out okay because she's with her real family now.
If they wanted to solidify it being real, when the dad comes up, when she is talking to the fawn, have him be like, "Oh, what the fuck is this thing?" and like shoot it at it or something. But like, no, he can't see it. She's just standing there talking to herself.
I want to find something. Is anyone here religious? Would anyone here say you're religious?
No.
No.
This is my
Okay. Never mind.
Okay. No, what I was about to say, at the very beginning of the movie, what Michael was saying in line is like, why is she not bleeding, or why is it like going back into her nose, kind of thing? Like, what was the purpose of that scene, other than to make you think that there could have been a second scenario where, when she did die, or she's like down there meeting the king and queen, that they said, would you want to stay with us, or would you want to go with your brother and survive and live life with him? I think like that could have been another possibility, because if there's magic in this world and she can go through doors and all that kind of stuff, they could obviously revive her back to full health, and she could have lived her life.
I think she died, and now she's in another world.
I think the part
They gave her a choice.
I think the part of like the very beginning when the blood is like going back up into her nose, I think it's just kind of like she's lying there, and it's like the movie's going back in time because now she's thinking about like the events that led her here.
It's one of those cut scenes.
Yeah.
Scratch record.
Yeah.
You're probably wondering
how I got here, and then he shows the whole movie in reverse really fast. Yeah, I think it was just kind of like that.
Yep, that's me.
Why do I have blood coming down my nose?
So
also, she gets shot in the stomach and she's bleeding out of her nose.
That's a good point, John. I
So
never did think
unrealistic.
I just think
I was
there could
kidding.
have
I'm
been two
kidding.
different
It's a joke.
There's definitely two different scenarios that could have happened. She chose the one where
They chose the one that has the better story. That's what happened.
Well, she could have been revived and lived her life growing up with her
But
baby
that would
brother.
have confirmed the magical aspect of the movie, and I think Del Toro probably wanted people to be able to just choose their own.
I think he wanted this ambiguity.
But
So we
then
can
he
cross
also
that.
said what he intended. But yeah,
It's interesting to me.
So,
It's
do you
okay.
think that's
Okay,
why-
no. Okay, so one thing I want to talk about is it's interesting to me that last week when we talked about Looper, you guys were like, "Oh, there's like inconsistencies and like, oh, I could think of this and I could think of that, and that makes this movie bad." Where this movie is very similar in the same way, but it's okay for this because it's magic.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because they had
Time
laws and rules in Looper that weren't
Time
followed.
travel is physics.
Looper set rules at the beginning of the movie that it did not follow, whereas this movie set rules at
No,
the beginning.
Looper. The small rules that Looper did put in, they did follow. And when it was trying to talk about rules, it was like, we're not talking about rules. That's not the part of the movie, right? The thing is we're talking about movies and a story, right? To me, you can't criticize one movie for doing the same thing as another movie just because it's time travel and magic.
I agree with you completely.
Both
which
things
is why
don't
I
exist.
liked Looper. I like Looper. I wasn't one of those assholes last week that was reading.
I'm just saying it's interesting. It's just funny. It's funny to me.
Why don't you try to
One is
look?
magic and one is
different.
time
They're
travel. They're
different.
completely different.
Both things don't exist. And they're both in a fictional movie.
They're both movies. Just enjoy the movie.
Well, one is like has the possibility of existence, and the other one absolutely does not.
Yes.
Where are the time travelers now, Garrett?
One is plausible. One is like completely false.
Regardless, next week. Oh, Johnny, were you done? Sorry.
I was just gonna be that dumbass that questioned why we can't have magic in this world too.
Yeah,
You
thanks,
don't
Johnny.
think
Thanks.
In the absolute universe that
What about
some
Jesus,
type
We
of-
do have magic in this world.
How did he walk on
We
water?
are getting way too
if you
deep.
go
Alright,
back,
so whose pick is next?
Truly.
Yeah, so next week is a Julie pick. Excited for
And
this
by the way,
one.
Jared, goddamn great movie pick again. Like,
Jared,
like,
honestly, you're fucking 2 for 2, bro.
Yes, I try. Unlike
Oh,
Mike.
yeah.
I actually like both movies, Mike. I was like the only person who did like both.
Yeah, he did like both movies.
I think about my picks and what I'm picking next. They're all different, but all similar.
You shouldn't.
Yeah, just pull one out of my ass.
Anyways, Julie.
This has been a really hard pick for myself, mostly because I had like a couple of really, really good movies that I haven't seen that I've been really wanting to see that I was gonna pick. But it's September and it's about to be October and I have to pick a Halloween movie. So I'm going to. It should be something that even Tanner can watch because it's not a horror movie. But it's a movie called Trick or Treat. I don't know if any of you have seen it before.
Maybe.
It is not. It is more like it's more campy. Like there's more like random humor. It's kind of like a slasher, like thriller.
It's a really good movie.
It's a solid fucking film. And I was trying it, like Jeff, just to tell you, like I tried so hard. I went through like hundreds of lists of movies to try to pick something that hopefully wouldn't get Tanner scared.
Okay, wait. Are we watching the 1986 version or the 2007?
The 2007,
Okay.
which, by the way, Trick or Treat isn't really well known. It's one of my favorite Halloween movies because it's kind of like campy and cheesy. I imagine about half of you will like it and half of you will hate it. But it wasn't super famous when it came out or anything. But it's rated like number 3, like top like Halloween movies to watch. So
I didn't realize that was the name of this movie. I looked it up on Wikipedia and I saw the cover art. Now I know what movie it is.
Like this little sack baby.
yeah,
Okay.
the little sack baby.
Sack baby movie.
You're gonna love him. His name's Sam.
Oh, cute.
Anyway, it's a great movie. I hope you guys enjoy it. Like I said, I imagine half of you won't, but it's a good Halloween movie. So happy Halloween, everyone.
Has anyone seen Tucker and Dale vs. Evil?
Yes.
Oh, such a good movie.
Yeah, but Tanner said that he didn't like a lot of gore.
It's not a
stuff.
scary movie. It's a
It's
But
comedy.
there's,
a
but there,
gory
I
movie,
no, but it's a gory movie. I
Okay,
love,
Tanner
I love,
Like it, yeah.
and like I'm not gonna lie, like there might be scenes in this movie where Tanner won't appreciate, but like whatever, like it's not that bad.
All right. Okay. All
To
right.
be fair, Tanner, if you have a problem with this movie, speak now.
Oh, shit.
all right.
All right, everyone. We're all over social media.
Another test to study for.
We're all over
Yeah.
social media. Neon Nightcast. Say goodbye, everyone.
Bye
Bye,
everyone.
buddy.
Bye,
Please
everyone.
find Trick or Treat
See
from
ya.
YouTube. $2.99.
$2.99.
Thank you, YouTube.
Bye.